Hello and welcome to another episode of Business and Bubble Tea. Here on the podcast today, I am really excited to be introducing a guy from Beijing, an expat and a founder, an entrepreneur, and Angelo Eugenio, the founder of ActivForever. Angelo, it's fantastic to have you on Business and Bubble Tea with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, William and Roberta. Thank you for inviting. I'm also very excited to be here and looking forward to share some of the experiences and insights with you all.
We're really happy to have you, Angelo, today. We are going to talk about China and fitness this time. So how does your experience in China started? When does it start?
Yeah, so, well, first of all, I've been living in Beijing, China for the last 12 years. So it's been more than a decade. So just to make that all in a very, very short shared, I came initially to learn Mandarin at the University of Language and Culture of Beijing. And then because I really like the life I had here in China, meeting people from all different places of the world and experiencing the culture, then I decided to stay and do my bachelor's here. I went then to study international economics and trade at UIBE, which is also here in Beijing. And this is where I met my friend, or our mutual friend, Petros from the Beehive.
Yep. And
then eventually I...
Absolute legend.
Legend. And as I graduated, I continued working. At the time when I was in university, I was working as a fitness instructor. And when I graduated, I decided to follow this career path and get more involved in the fitness industry.
So I just wanted to sort of...
years I've been here.
Yeah. So just wanted to narrow down that step from, I guess, your sort of China experience, university, and then what was your kind of so you were doing you're a fitness instructor, and then what was your, like, I guess, next step in sort of as a sort of I guess a newcomer in a way to China at that time? What was your sort of initial step? Because we've seen that you worked for BaseFit as well. So what was your sort of move across there?
You mean from the university towards the fitness industry?
Yeah,
so straight after university.
Student.
Great. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, so, well, I have been into sports all my life. I grew up in a small sports club, so I've been always physically active, and I believe that sport it's a very important element that we should all have as a part of our lifestyle. So when I was in university, as a part-time job, I was working in a gym as a fitness instructor, and I really, really enjoy it as a career, helping others and doing also what I find to be my passion, which is health and fitness. So when I graduated from university, I decided to follow that career path and keep on learning new fitness certifications and gaining more experience in this fitness field, and then further on going into founding ActivForever as a company.
And what about your company? How did it start? Which problem do you identify? And what's the goal? Yeah,
so, well, perhaps I should quickly introduce ActivForever. So for the audience out there, and so ActivForever is a multicultural fitness community, and we combine different elements like group trainings, personal training, nutrition guidance, and community support, so that we can help our members to enjoy exercise, build meaningful relations, and improve their health and well-being. So because we are focusing on health and well-being, we take physical activity as a fundamental habit to build a healthier lifestyle. And since we take the lifestyle approach, this means that in order for us to live a healthy lifestyle, we need to stay physically active throughout our life. So this is why it's called ActivForever. And how did it started was we started doing outdoor workouts during March 2021, 2020, sorry, during the pandemic. And the time, so this was an interesting experience because at the time we were experiencing lockdowns. People was scared about the whole virus, and people was staying at home, and this arise a lot of challenges and problems to at least our community here in Beijing. So we had, I can tell this because this is what the members of our community at the time were sharing with me, which is that some of us we were experiencing feeling lonely, feeling depressed. This is because of being all the time at home without having much social interaction.
Yep.
And people was getting also bored of this whole situation. And since I've been always into exercising and I felt like I was tired of being in this situation, I decided to start doing some outdoor workouts with friends. So then again, we met with Petrus and another guys, and we were just kind of like exercising together just for the sake of having a good time and to meet friends, because at the time, like I mentioned, there was a lockdown in Beijing and there were not many places where you could go and let's say interact with people. Yeah. And then coming from always being indoors to being outdoors and enjoying the sunshine and exercising, then this really, let's say, engage the members of our group at the time, and they started feeling different, let's say, benefits out of the group sessions, which was starting to feel, okay, feeling part of the group. So they were kind of coming out of that loneliness feeling. And then through physical activity and being outdoors, they also kind of helped them to improve in terms of their mood and not feeling that depressed, but more like more happy and more positive towards the whole, let's say, situation at the time. And
would you say these? So you've kind of, from what it sounds like, a lot of what I'm getting from this is about community. And you sort of, I guess, sort of clocked onto the sort of, you got loads of feedback, and people were, really, really positive about kind of wanting to get outside, wanting to exercise. Taking a sort of a few steps back to sort of, let's say, like sort of pre-pandemic, did you kind of have a community already you engaged with and that you were coaching, or did it sort of, do you feel like a kind of unity? Yeah. Did you create it in the process of the pandemic, or like, was this sort of unity formed as a result of this sort of isolation and sort of, lockdowns and things like that we all experienced? Was that how it was kind of formed and sort of born out of that?
Yeah. So yes, this ActivForever community grew or really became ignited by the pandemic and all the current situation at the time. But in the past, I've also built other communities while I was in university and when I was working for Basic as well. And we've always, or at least in my experience, there has always been the, let's say, fitness and striving to be healthier element that unites people towards this, let's say, same interest or goal. And because of this, when you have that, say, goal, the whole group moves and works towards that. And since we are doing so as a group, it's easier for them to stay engaged, to stay motivated, and to provide mutual support.
And was this particularly referred to expats in Beijing, so other foreigners, or is a community also with other Chinese friends?
Yeah, so ActivForever is a multicultural community. So we have the foreigners and the expats as members in the community, but we also have the Chinese and the, let's say, the local members that are also involved. So this is great because it provides kind of this cultural exchange among the members of the community, and not only, let's say, Westerns and Eastern, like let's say foreigners and Chinese, but also from foreigners among foreigners as well, because we have, let's say, people coming from South America, people coming from different parts of Europe, people coming from different parts of Africa, and so on. So you kind of get to this very unique cultural exchange. Yeah.
It sounds a bit like a kind of melting pot almost in the experience in of itself in terms of sort of the variation of diversity you get there. I wanted to ask more in terms of, I guess, trends that you see running ActivForever out in Beijing, and sort of trends you're seeing within Beijing in the sort of fitness community that you've fostered. What kind of is there any sort of trends that you're noticing that you've seen have been a change from the past experiences you've had to what you're seeing now? I mean, you mentioned a lot more about kind of moving more towards outside workouts and this sort of thing, and now you've built a community around that. Are there any sort of differences in trends that you're seeing? I mean, you mentioned, do you do the classes in multiple languages? Do you do them in Chinese? What's the feedback you're getting in firsthand from people you're coaching?
Yeah, so in terms of let's say the indoors outdoors element and the bilingual element, if I understood your question right, then let's say the outdoors element is a very unique experience that we have here, at least in Beijing, because people are used to exercising at the gym or mainly at the gym. Prior to the pandemic, not many people was exercising at home. So I would say prior to that, people was just used to exercising at the gym. And well, when all of this started to happen and we started to hold the sessions outdoors, then this gave people a chance for them to experience this kind of different type of training compared to being indoors. And it became very, very trendy. So besides ActivForever, there are other communities out there that started to also organize, let's say, group workouts outdoors and to grow also other communities. Yeah. And then in terms of
So moving from that, what are the next steps that you see for ActivForever? Are you looking to go beyond Beijing, or are you still fostering the community there? What's the next steps that you see for ActivForever?
Yeah, so we definitely want to keep on. So our mission is to improve people's lifestyle and well-being, and because that's what we're aiming to achieve in our local community, we also want to be able to expand and be able to share that different places in China and potentially even all around the world. But it goes little by little. I think that we need to start out of somewhere, and as things grow and as we learn from doing this project, and as we learn from the feedback that we get from our members, we can optimize the service that we're providing and create more value for them, so that we can be able to do this in a bigger scale.
Really nice.
And what do you think is the key to building, I guess, a really successful community from your experience? Like, from you've done extremely well to build one in Beijing during a pandemic. What do you think has been what made that successful? Like, what has as an expat growing a community overseas in China, what's made that successful? Do you think part of it's your language background? What's been the key to that success?
I think for any, let's say, person who is looking into building a community, or any company that is building a community, one of the key elements is to know and understand as much as possible their audience or let's say their community members, because when you do so, when you constantly engage with them, listen to the feedback, and see how they interact with this, let's say, product or service that you're providing for them, then you can really kind of filter what works and what doesn't. And then that way you can keep on optimizing it, let's say the service or product, and having this constant kind of like feedback loop between the product and the audience. And then that way it will let you to provide more value, and they will keep on coming and sharing this with their friends. So just to say that in a short way is, you gotta know your audience, you gotta listen to them so that you can optimize according to their feedback, and then you wanna keep on providing as much value as possible to them.
And what about the beginning of this experience, of this journey? Which challenges have you encountered? Was it difficult, or was it like a smooth process for you?
Yeah, well, no, there were definitely many challenges along the way. I mean, to start, we were during the pandemic, so sometimes people was not really feeling comfortable engaging in, let's say, in a group setting because of the virus itself. We had people that were also not physically active before. So we have all of these kind of members coming from different backgrounds and fitness levels. And then so we needed to address not only, let's say, the current or actual physical condition, but also their psychological state, right? In terms of how well or how comfortable they were feeling joining the community, despite the fact that we were dealing with this coronavirus, and then eventually moving that into founding the company and all the different, let's say, obstacles that were along the way for us to be able to transition from just a fitness group to a well-established company and brand in Beijing.
And in the context of fitness, another element to that is obviously going to be diet. From your side, are you and I've always wondered this, being in China, because we don't have access to the same foods. I mean, I'm from the UK, that like you can easily access sort of salad bars and all this
chicken
sort of
and
thing.
rice.
And exactly. And I feel like if you're in a more, I guess Shanghai is very, very internationally integrated, so you can kind of get everything there. But if you go to the sort of more, I guess, local cities and towns, you won't necessarily find the same types of products. What do you think,
Absolutely.
I guess, is key to maintaining, I guess, a sort of healthy diet, along with your amazing community, fitness, working out all the time? What do you, I guess, recommend to expats out in China, kind of looking to sort of maintain their physique and also do the working out at the same time?
Yeah, so that's a great question, William, because we get a lot of the similar questions in our community. So I think the first thing is to really try to educate yourself, or at least look for the guidance of a professional in terms of nutrition, just so that you understand what are the type of foods that you are ingesting, and how are these foods having an impact in your body. So one is understanding, and then the second one is the implementation. So once you know what's good and what's not good for your body, or at least what is in line and what is not in line for the goals that you have, then how do you implement that plan? And you could do so either one, by cooking yourself, or two, finding different kind of resources or local brands that are already providing these kind of solutions. But just to make it easy for the audience and for all of us, the easiest way is us cooking, because anywhere we will be able to find, let's say, the raw ingredients. Yeah. And healthy nutrition, it all comes down is to eating, let's say, natural food sources instead of having a lot of processed food. And natural food sources, you can find it in any supermarket. And here in Beijing, or at least in China, you can also have access to the, let's say, Taobao, or which is one of the biggest e-commerce platforms, where you can find different kinds of, let's say, whole grain products. You can find also, let's say, ingredients that you wouldn't find in your local supermarket, but that are being imported to China, and you can get them in any city that you are within China.
Fantastic. Because I'm always wondering this sort of, if you're looking for a diet, because I got really involved with eating. Yeah, well, like every day you're having dumplings and baozi, and maybe I should have something else as well.
Local food is also delicious, right? So we need to try to find the balance between, let's say, the food that we need to eat according to our goals, and also the food that we, let's say, the food for the heart, right? The food that we really enjoy eating as well.
Are there any local foods, local dishes that you can think of off the top of your head that you think are kind of really like ones that we should look out for, and that we should treat as, I guess, more fuel than comfort food type thing, shall we say?
Yeah, well, more fuel than comfort food, then I would say, if what you're looking for is, let's say, good quality food for your lifestyle, then you can find different. Let's say you can go to a hot pot place or a Malatang restaurant, and the first impression that they will say is that they will feel is that these type of foods are not healthy. But actually, if you're able to choose from the ingredients that they provide in the menu, then you can really get a healthy, let's say, choice. Because in these places, they provide the different type of foods before cooking, and you can choose them as a natural ingredient.
Sure.
And you can decide then if you put any kind of sauce or what kind of oil, if you want it boiled or if you want it like fried and whatever. So from this perspective and local kind of food, you can more or less adjust to your, let's say, nutrition. But then, depending on what you choose, then it can be also detrimental for the nutrition if you add a lot of sauces and additives.
Yeah, if you choose, though.
Yeah.
I am so glad you said that, and hello, because I absolutely love hot pot and these Malatang places. For those of you who don't know what Malatang is, you can sort of select food and then they'll cook it in a broth of your choice for you, but you choose all the ingredients that go into the pot. That's I've just got, I guess we've got time for one final question. And I just wanted to ask, I guess, what advice would you give to any, expats or kind of companies wanting to, looking to build communities, or build their audiences, let's say, in Asia or in China, based on your experience? What advice would you give?
Yeah. So then again, it also comes down again for these companies to understand really who is their audience. Since we have so many different kind of let's say personas living here in China, then it really comes down to what is their target audience, who are they aiming for? Is it let's say an expat living in Beijing, or is it a local? And how does this product or service, let's say, help to solve the need of this person, right? And then choosing the right channel as well, because depending on your audience, then let me give you an example. If you are aiming for like local, for a local audience, then locals, you won't really find them in, let's say, Instagram or YouTube or all these other kind of like foreign platforms. They will be more in like local based platforms like WeChat or Xiaohongshu or Douyin and so on. But then if your audience is foreign, then that's okay. You can go with the, let's say, more traditional platforms. So that goes with, again, choosing the right, let's say, marketing channel or tool for you to be able to tap into that audience. And you have to know your audience so that you know which tool to use. Yeah.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, Angelo, that's all we've got time for today. But thank you so much for joining us on Business and Bubble Tea. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.